The Galactic Empire viewed Earth the same way it viewed any primitive frontier world: loud, chaotic, messy, and ultimately inconsequential. Except humans had one fatal flaw. They didn't behave like the others. They didn't break under pressure. They didn't kneel. They studied, adapted, and worse, they retaliated. The Empire's worst mistake wasn't observing Earth. It was interacting with it. The order came down without debate. Eliminate the variables. A surgical culling, not full conquest. Precision assassinations. No public footprint. No war. Just silence. 7 teams were dispatched. Species bred for silence, movement, molecular cloaking. Each of them had ended civil wars before they began. One team could remove a planetary dictator without tripping a single alarm. 7 teams on one backwater planet? Overkill, or so they thought. Earth's leaders were not briefed on the danger. The deaths began immediately. A Chinese particle physicist at a secure lab found liquefied inside his own reactor housing. The head of NASA's Secret Propulsion Division crushed without damage to the room or door. A NATO general found hanging, wrists bound behind his back, from a bridge with no access points. No signs of entry. No forensic trail. No demands. But pattern recognition analysts in 2 countries noticed the anomaly curve spiking. Within 4 days, every global surveillance network was seeing small, unexplainable breaches. Every denial only increased internal fear. The panic wasn't public, but private networks burned with encrypted noise. The U.S. thought it was Russia. Russia thought it was China. China thought it was NATO. But one unlisted satellite caught the silhouette of something it couldn't categorize. Something tall. Something wrong. It moved too smoothly. Too silently. Analysts at Langley didn't categorize it under any known human framework. Then it disappeared mid-stride. Normally, bureaucratic churn would delay any action. But not this time. A hidden protocol buried since the Cold War activated behind closed doors. Level 0 red. Eyes only. Manual delivery. It moved across agencies that didn't officially exist. Black cells whispered one name: Pandora Trigger. It wasn't a weapon. It was a list. Names. People who weren't in the system. Men and women erased from military, intelligence, and civilian life. Assets believed dead, rogue, or mythological. The kind of names you said only once, and never on comms. Top of that list was one simple phrase: American Boogeyman. No first name. No rank. No unit. Just a location code and 2 handlers, one of whom had dementia, and the other had been listed Kia in Afghanistan 15 years earlier. The Pentagon didn't initiate recovery. It requested a conditional observation. 2 analysts were sent, and both disappeared within 72 hours. In Langley's sub-basement, someone laughed. "We found him," she said. "He found them first." In Russia, the GRU's own list activated. Not human-shaped weapons. Human-shaped diseases. Each of them a virus crafted by decades of war, betrayal, and erasure. They didn't take orders. They accepted missions. Once. If the mission didn't fit, you didn't leave the room. They didn't trust satellites, drones, or AI. They trusted silence, steel, and instinct. From Tel Aviv to Berlin to Ankara, the same thing happened. Protocols older than treaties. Files opened only by code, words buried in dead languages. What they all agreed on was this: Earth was under attack by something not human, and only the monsters could fight the monsters. Meanwhile, the assassinations continued. Not fast, deliberate, strategic, like pulling teeth from the skull of a sleeping beast. But Earth was no longer asleep. It was groggy, wounded, and angry. Strike Team Theta, 7 alien operatives capable of phasing through concrete, entered an unlisted compound in Alaska. All telemetry confirmed entry. 27 seconds later, all signal vanished. No alarms tripped. No footage. A drone flyby showed the structure intact. Doors sealed. No heat signatures. Strike Team Delta landed in Johannesburg. Their job was to eliminate an AI architect working with military drone algorithms. They found her bodyguard instead. One man. No ID. 42 confirmed kills before vanishing into the sewer system. Only problem was, he was supposed to be dead in 2009. Strike Team Omicron engaged a target in an abandoned Ukrainian outpost. They activated their stealth fields, synced in, and moved. 43 seconds later, one of them screamed through encrypted comms. Biological terror flagged in Empire systems. Something had jammed their cortical translators. Something had whispered in their native tongue, "Found you." The Empire's high command ignored the warnings. Losses were acceptable. Humanity had no interstellar fleet, no warp tech, no psychic division. They were not a threat. But the field teams were going dark, one after another. No distress, just silence. They changed tactics. Less surgical, more scorched earth. They targeted known military black sites, launching orbital strikes. 6 outposts destroyed. 2 were decoys, for were abandoned. 1 was never on Earth to begin with, because the real assets weren't stationed anywhere. They were ghosts, and now they were awake. The American Boogeyman didn't file reports. He didn't need oversight. His last mission record was redacted by a man who later shot himself in the face 3 times. His myth stretched through whispers in cartel jungles, failed coups, and collapsed regimes. Once, a South American dictator broadcast his capture live on television. 20 minutes later, the station exploded, and the dictator's tongue was mailed to his successor. His reactivation didn't come with fanfare. Just a call, a sentence. "They're here." He didn't ask who. He just packed. The company didn't work like a unit. It operated like a rumor. You didn't know who was in, only who disappeared. A British operative once listed as MI6's greatest failure reappeared in Istanbul. A Japanese counterintelligence ghost surfaced in Laos. A woman who once took down a Russian general with a pencil was spotted buying rope in Montreal. None of them checked in. None of them needed to. They started small. Noise. Confusion. Alien data logs showed spikes in human information chaos. Memes, videos, live leaks of assassinations, ghost radio stations broadcasting nonsense in dead frequencies. The Empire's digital sensors flagged rising mass paranoia. But it wasn't paranoia. It was camouflage. In Mumbai, an entire team of assassins was poisoned through synthetic pheromones. In Buenos Aires, a strike team ship exploded mid-evac, cause a timed satchel charge placed inside their cloaking chamber. Entry point, unknown. Time of placement, 3 hours before the team landed. And then came the message, not from Earth's governments, from a dead calm's relay orbiting Mars. A single data burst, encoded in multiple dead languages. Translation, you're not hunting prey, you're trespassing. The Empire began to understand. These weren't humans. These were apex predators that happened to look human. Panic began to spread in the assassin command units. They weren't just losing assets. They were losing confidence. Field teams refused missions. One of them, trained in emotion suppression, began carving symbols into his own flesh. The symbols matched ancient Earth sigils used in psychological warfare units. Units the Empire thought Earth had never developed. The Galactic Empire's communication servers flagged a new anomaly, operational fear. Statistically improbable, then undeniably real. Entire assassin cadres stopped responding to orders. Inter-unit transmissions contained coded hesitation. Phrases like, "not again," "we don't know what they are," and "they see us before we land" appeared in classified channels. A new psychological metric emerged across strike groups: anticipatory collapse. 2 weeks after the failed shuttle extraction, an Empire relay station deep in neutral space received an unauthorized transmission. The signal was garbled, encrypted in a pattern that matched no known system. Once decoded, it played only ambient audio, breathing, slow and rhythmic. Then a voice. Human. Calm. This isn't war. This is consequence. Empire leadership convened emergency protocols. Analysts argued it was a bluff, a rogue faction. Nothing more, but the data disagreed. 8 strike teams lost. 2 cruisers missing. Field agents dead or untraceable. Surveillance showed assassins killing each other during infiltration. Mistaken identity? No. Fear-induced illusion. The humans had reverse-engineered their own psychological signatures and projected them across enemy comms. Empire psychology officers demanded containment, not of Earth, but of information. The legend of Earth's retaliation had begun spreading to other species. Uneasy allies, subjugated sectors, civilian populations, rumors of faceless army that whispered in dead languages and walked through walls, that extracted your soul before your body knew you were dead. Panic took root. But the Boogeyman and Company didn't care about rumors. They cared about results. They didn't need Earth's permission. They didn't need authorization. They had targets, names, coordinates, patterns. They mapped alien supply chains and embedded themselves inside them. One was found aboard an freighter bound for the outer colonies. No life sign detected. No heat trace. He stayed in the engine room for 4 days, disabling coolant lines, corrupting navigation software, and dosing the crew's nutrient supply with a tailored hallucinogen derived from human warfare studies. By the time the ship arrived, the crew had killed each other using maintenance tools. Empire forensic teams couldn't explain it, because they didn't understand the human mind. One company member hacked a planetary defense grid and redirected orbital bombardment to its own command post. Another infiltrated an alien academy and taught for 3 weeks, seeding philosophical dissent among the officer class before vanishing without a trace. The Boogeyman himself walked through a diplomatic summit cloaked in artificial invisibility, brushing shoulders with sector governors, planting nanobombs on their personal security devices, detonating them 3 days later while they slept. Each move wasn't tactical. It was theatrical, a message delivered in fear, not force. One alien leader, experienced, hardened, watched footage of a strike team collapsing under invisible pressure and made the mistake of laughing. 3 days later, his tongue was stapled to a glass wall in his command room. He was never found. The only surviving footage showed a shadow behind a security detail, a shadow that didn't cast one. Empire systems locked down, but paranoia grew faster than security. Assassins now refused Earthbound missions. Then new reports, humans appearing on non-Earth worlds, unknown entry points, no warp signatures, no comms. They arrived inside secure bases, walked past genetically locked doors, and left behind nothing but bodies and warning messages burned into walls. Empire governors received encrypted data files containing their own weaknesses, medical history, family lineage, thoughts only held in mind-linked confession chambers. Every file ended with a phrase, "We know where you sleep." Alien officers began requesting reassignment. Soldiers deserted. Recruitment collapsed. But Earth said nothing. No fleet. No broadcasts. No declarations. The company spoke through silence and subtraction. Entire listening posts vanished. Military vessels turned against themselves. Friendly fire incidents reached record highs. Empire AI blamed human interference, but couldn't prove it, because the company used the Empire's own fears as weapons. One handler fled to a deep space cryo facility, thinking isolation meant safety. He was correct, until he woke early. Alone, the pod beside him open, blood dripping from the inside. His own voice echoed to the chamber, whispering coordinates to places he'd never been. Empire officials suspected internal revolt, a black-budget empire within empire. But scans showed no signs of mutiny, only infiltration. One facility on the edge of the Ceridian Rift housed a telepathic security force. Impossible to breach, they said. 3 hours later, all personnel were found in fetal positions, their minds blank slates, brain patterns intact, memories erased, no physical trauma. Only one clue, a human tooth placed on the command console. The tooth didn't match any database. Then came the shift. Empire Command began seeing defections, not from Earth, but from within. Alien soldiers began broadcasting encrypted sympathies. Rebels named themselves after company myths. The Smiling Knife, Ghostwalker, Black Zero. Minor colonies declared neutrality, then silence, then vanished from the grid, because the humans weren't just killing. They were inspiring. They were rewriting power dynamics through fear alone. Empire AI tried mimicry. It failed. Alien units dressed in human-style gear. They tried human tactics, stealth, unpredictability, brutality. But they missed the essence, the intent, because the company didn't kill for glory. They killed for message, for precision, for deterrence. And when the deterrence failed, they escalated. Empire Science Division's attempted capture. They failed. They tried luring company members into traps. The traps were reversed. On one occasion, the bait unit was replaced entirely by humans. The ambush became a massacre. An Empire facility meant to house human prisoners became a morgue. Then it got worse. The Boogeyman breached an Empire council meeting. Not physically, digitally. Every screen in the room flashed coordinates to buried Empire secrets. Hidden prisons, biological research stations, black sites, all with recorded atrocities, all with footage. The footage had been in lock systems, untouchable, unhackable, until now. That breach destabilized internal trust. Commanders turned on handlers. Handlers turned on researchers. No one knew who was compromised. No one knew who would vanish next. Because the company didn't warn. They acted. In a 6-hour period, 3 key Empire lords died by different methods. One poisoned, one asphyxiated by his own helmet. One found crucified with his own insignia. None of them had ever been to Earth. All had voted for extermination. By now, the myth had grown. Even inside Earth, governments didn't have answers. The company reported to no nation. It had no flag. It had no homeland. They were shadows carved from necessity. The answer to a question no one wanted to ask. One civilian ship drifting near Saturn received an encoded message from a derelict satellite. "We are not coming for peace, but we are not coming for you." Civilian fears turned to awe. On alien planets, children whispered stories of the humans who walked through metal, who made death polite, who never shouted, who never missed.